but you know, in certain acts, if it is mandatorily written that the valuation is required to be done by the registered valuer, and the partnership firm LLP and the proprietorship firm are following those particular acts, then they have to mandatorily find a registered valuer. For example, I am running a partnership firm. Okay, my firm name is Sanket Garg and Company. I am running a partnership firm. Now I am planning to take a banking license as per the Reserve Bank of India Act. Okay. So as per the RBI Act, when I try to submit the document in the in the RBI office, so they says that you should bring the valuation report. Now, if in the RBI Act the government has made the amendment that yes, the valuation is required by only a registered valuer, then directly the valuation means this RV concept is not applicable on the proprietorship partnership firm. But since partnership firm is following that particular act, so this is this RV concept is applicable due to that particular act because I am following that particular act. Is this clear till now?
सर एक क्वेश्चन था.
हाँ जी सर.
सर एक ना होटल इंडस्ट्री होटल था, वो प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी उस होटल को रन कर रही थी, तो वैल्यूएशन आई थी मेरे पास. तो ऐसे हम कर सकते हैं ना कि सबसे पहले होटल की वैल्यूएशन लैंड एंड बिल्डिंग वालों से लगवाएंगे कि जो होटल की एक्चुअल बिल्डिंग की वैल्यूएशन है वो, उसके अंदर जितनी प्लांट एंड मशीन लगी उसकी वैल्यूएशन, और जो भी उसकी बाकी एसेट्स हैं उसकी बुक वैल्यू उठा ले, मार्केट वैल्यू उठा ले, लैंड एंड बिल्डिंग की मार्केट वैल्यू उठा ले, प्लांट एंड मशीनरी की बुक वैल्यू उठा ले, बाकी एसेट्स की माइनस बुक वैल्यू ऑफ लायबिलिटीज, तो जो आ जाएगा उसको नंबर ऑफ शेयर से डिवाइड कर देंगे तो फेयर वैल्यू आ जाएगी. ये सही रहेगा ना तरीका? ये भी
उसके लिए देखिए, आपका मैं पॉइंट समझ गया. उसके लिए आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा कि आपको अप्रोचेस में जाना पड़ेगा. कौन सी अप्रोच लगा रहे हो? कंपनी की वैल्यूएशन
सर
करने
अगर
के लिए
एसेट्स अप्रोच लगा रहे हैं, अगर एसेट
अगर
अप्रोच
आप
लगा रहे हैं
एसेट
तो फिर
अप्रोच लगा रहे हो तो ठीक है, आपकी अप्रोच. आपको तीनों वैल्यूअर को आप ये कर लीजिए, अपॉइंट कर लीजिए, एंड देन यू डू द वैल्यूएशन. व्हाट एवर यू आर सेइंग इज 100% करेक्ट.
ठीक है सर. थैंक यू, थैंक यू, थैंक यू.
So I think so this is clear to all of you कि we have to do the valuation. Now it is very important for a registered valuer to know, to understand that under which act they can do the valuation. You have to know your powers, because when you know your powers, then you can play around, then you can turn around the opportunities for you. So it is very important for all of you to understand that when and under which act the valuations are required. कौन से एक्ट में वैल्यूअर की रिक्वायरमेंट है, कौन सा एक्ट ऐसा है जिसके अंदर ये लिखा हुआ है कि रजिस्टर्ड वैल्यूअर ही चाहिए, एंड देन अकॉर्डिंगली you can try to do the empanelment, and you can also try to target that particular industry or the sector, and you can go to the website and you can untap the opportunity for yourself. So that is important. And to untap the opportunity, you have to first understand that under which act the valuation is required. See, for the SFA valuers, it is very clear that if there is any company, so for that company, the valuer is required and SFA valuer is mandatorily required. In 99.99% cases, SFA valuers are mandatorily required. Why they are required? Because the company do the valuation of the entire company. Means the company want to do get the valuation of the entire company. So SFA valuer are required in 99.99% cases. Now the plant and machinery valuer and the land and building valuer are only involved in those cases where the company is owning any land and building and the plant and machinery, or the company is doing any transaction of land and building and plant and machinery. And in 99% cases, so we can see that in 99% cases, the land and building valuer and plant and machinery valuers are also required. As Nitin ji has already told that in the hotel industry, if they are selling the hotels and all, so in the buy-sale transactions and all, this plant and machinery and land and building valuer are required, and you have to do the valuation as per your approach and whatever. So coming forward, that first we see that under various laws when the valuers are required. So this is a standard, guidelines, and I have not, created any separate PPT because it's a, it's a very good refined book in which everything is given. Okay. So basically,
सर ये
as
बुक
of,
अवेलेबल कहाँ पर है?
मैं दे दूंगा सर आपको, मैं दे दूंगा आपको PDF, ठीक है,
ठीक है,
सेशन के बाद.
ठीक है, ओके।
So there are basically 6 major acts in India. ठीक है, there are basically 6 major acts in India under which a valuer is required. And I am again repeating, I am considering each and every valuer. ठीक है, the land and building, the plant and machinery, and the security and the financial assets. So under the Companies Act, as I already discussed with you, that any private company, any public company, any Section 8 company. Now, what is Section 8 company? So Section 8 company means the NGOs. Okay. Section 8 company means the this charitable organization. For example, Smile is there, Cry is there, or any another organization are there. So just give you a little bit more background. So you can run the NGO by two forms. So either you create a Section 8 company, which is governed by the Companies Act, or either you create a local trust. Okay, so that's also you do. But right now, to get a CSR funding and all those things, so as a modern fashion, people are converting the company into the Section 8 company. So that is the thing. So under the Companies Act, so if it's a private company, a public company means a listed a limited company, okay, either listed or unlisted, or a NGO Section 8 company, a registered valuer is required. And this is especially written under Section 247. Then the insolvency and the bankruptcy code. For example, if you are running the business as per the six phase which I have discussed with you, and you are unable to meet out your liability, and you are on the brink of insolvency, and you file a case into the court, either as a proprietorship firm, either as a partnership firm, either as a company, either as a LLP or a JV or anything. So you file a case that, sir, I'm not able to pay my liability, kindly declare me bankrupt. Okay. So if that is the condition, in all those scenarios also, IBC Act is especially saying that registered valuer is required. So in IBC cases, in all the insolvency bankruptcy cases, registered valuer is required. So now what is the opportunity for all of you? So you can go to various NCLT websites, you can get yourself registered there, or you can regularly watch the IBBI website also. On the IBBI website, they do the publication in form number A and B and all. And there is a email ID of the insolvency professional. So you can email them your profile, your quotation, your past experience and all, and you can say that, okay, sir, I want to do the CIRP valuation, so you can consider my profile for this case or for future cases, like that. Okay, so that is another way. Then third are the Indian accounting standards. So what are basically Indian accounting standard? See, basically any business, when you run any business, so you have to do the accounting and bookkeeping. I have taught the accounting and bookkeeping to land and building and plant and machinery valuer also. SFA valuer, again, they know each and everything. It's a revision for them. Okay. So what are Indian accounting standards? So when we do the accounting, so there is a set of standards we have to follow to do the accounting. Okay. Now there are some big companies. Those are having turnover of more than 500 CR. Okay. So for those companies, Indian accounting standards are required. That means that if you have to do the means whatever the transactions you are doing into the business, so you have to record those transactions in a certain specific manner. Okay. So if on all those companies who are having turnover of 500 CR, or mainly the listed company, you can say, because on listed company, Indias are applicable. So, you have to, means as per the Indias also, it is mandatory required a registered valuer. So under the Indias also, if there is a requirement, then a registered valuer only can do the valuation. Then the Income Tax Act 1961. So as per the income tax also, the valuer is required. Now there is no amendment in the Income Tax Act. So earlier in the Income Tax Act, there was a associated small act known as the Wealth Tax Act. So mainly the people were registered under the Wealth Tax Act. And under the Wealth Tax Act, the people were registered by giving a means the additional commissioner and the commissioner means that commissioner of income tax. I'm saying the additional commissioner and the commissioner normally at the earlier like 20-30 years back, they they release the tenders and all, and then they appoint the valuer under the Wealth Tax Act. Okay, now Wealth Tax Act has been abolished. Okay, but there were still some cases are going on, and the persons who were earlier empaneled under the Wealth Tax Act, the same persons are taking the light forward, because Wealth Tax Act has been abolished, but peoples are still having the land and building and jewelries and all those things. So to value the land and building, plant and this jewelries and all those things of the personal persons, of the on the personal returns, they require the valuer. Okay, so under the Wealth Tax Act, people are already registered and they are doing the valuation good. Now there is no amendment under the Income Tax Act. There is no amendment under the Income Tax Act that registered valuer is required, and this amendment is very important. Now why government is not doing? Because government is not able to link, because government is also very slow in changing the laws in India, and government is also not far sighted in India, so they are bringing more and more notification circulars and all, so that professionals involved more in reading the circulars instead of doing the work. So government is not that far sighted, and due to that the government has not done the amendment in the Income Tax Act. So in the Income Tax Act, it is nowhere written that a registered valuer is especially required. But now, as a practice in the market, the commissioner and the assistant commissioner and the ITOs and all those means that IT this tax officer, they are demanding the valuation report from the registered valuer. But in the Income Tax Act, mainly the valuation is required under Rule 11 UA. And under Rule 11 UA, the report of the merchant bankers are required. And when merchant banker create the report, when merchant banker do the valuation. So at the time of valuation, if there is any immovable property and all, so they can take the help of the land and building valuer. And if there is any plant and machinery, then they can also take the help of the plant and machinery valuer. Okay, so in the Income Tax Act, it is very important that a registered valuer concept should come, and so that our scope will increase. Now, again, the problem is there that some of the merchant banker reports I am seeing that to save the cost and the money, what they are doing is that they are not obtaining the report of the land and building valuer. So they are seeing that they are taking the circle rate from that what you say that from the land revenue records, and then they do the calculation by themselves. Okay, I don't know how income tax is reviewing that, taking that approach. If the officer is lenient and if there is a very good setting, so officer can or may accept that report. Otherwise, officer can deny that report. For the plant and machinery, if there is a plant and machinery in the company, then I personally suggest that there should be a proper valuer. Okay. And now in the Income Tax Act, it is nowhere written that it is a registered valuer to be taken. So there is a liberty that if you are an RV, then you can do the valuation, or if you are not an RV also, but you are licensed under any of the earlier your own act and all, so then also you can do the valuation. Then the Foreign Exchange Management Act. Again, government is very slow in changing the provision under the FEMA Act. So in the FEMA Act also, only the chartered accountants can do the valuation, not the registered valuers. So again, it is very important that under the FEMA Act, it is required that the word registered valuer should be replaced with the chartered accountant. So in the FEMA Act also, means when under the FEMA Act this will come, so we will see in the trigger points. But in the FEMA, only the chartered accountants or the certified public accountants of the United States, okay, they can do the valuation, not the registered valuer. Either right now, what the trend is going on in under both these two important acts, that they have started considering the RV report. Okay, but but if they specifically write this, so people will also save their money. For example, if there is a company and the company want the valuation as per the FEMA Act, so the company has to spend double amount. So they have to first take the valuation as per the Companies Act because it is mandatory. So one report is there. Then another report they have to take as per the FEMA Act. If the person is both chartered accountant and a registered valuer, then one report can work in both the places. But suppose if the person is not a chartered accountant, or if the person is a company secretary and all, so then both report will not work. So the company has to pay double fees. So that is the main problem. Then under the SEBI Act, so under the SEBI regulations also, the valuation is required. Now under SEBI regulations, in the few places they have written, and in few places still amendment is required to be made. But in 99% cases, SEBI, they have covered that yes, a registered valuer is required. So these are the main act under which a valuer is required. Apart from these acts, there are certain other acts also. For example, the Sarfasi Act, securitization of the asset and securitization of the interest and reconstruction of the financial assets. So Sarfasi Act also you all have read. So in the Sarfasi Act, mainly the main focus is on land and building only. So under the Sarfasi Act also, the valuer is required. Okay. Then under the Indian Evidence Act, okay. So then under the Indian Evidence Act, then under the Arbitration or the Conciliation Act, okay. Then under the tort law is there, okay. Tort law you all have read, land and building and plant and machinery valuer. So in all those acts also, a valuer is required at a specific point of time when a requirement of the valuer is there. So you all can find various government organizations. You all can create a very good profile and get yourself empaneled, because under the tort law, under the arbitration and conciliation, under the Indian Evidence Act, all your reports goes directly to the judge, to the court for various kind of the litigation. So it is utmost important for you that you should focus all the things very clearly when you draft the report, that we have already discussed multiple times. Now coming to the Companies Act. So when the trigger point is there, so for example, valuation of assets of a Section 8 company when it is to be converted into any another type of company. So at the time of conversion, before filing of the such document to the Register of the Corporate Affairs, ROC, you have to do the valuation. For more reference, you can go to Section 8, Rule 21 and 22 of the Companies Rule. Then issue of the share for consideration other than cash. So if you are issuing the share, if any company is issuing the share in kind, okay, then a valuation is required. And what is the trigger point? When filing the return of allotment for issue of the shares for a consideration other than cash. Means when you file the pass-through form. Okay. And for more detail, you can go to section 39. Then fair price justification for issue of sweat equity shares. So what are sweat equity shares? So when you do the hard work in the company, so against that hard work, when the company issue the equity shares to you. So that is known as the sweat equity share. So before the approval of the certificate shares, a valuation is required. And in all the Companies Act, if you take the valuation from a non-registered valuer, then you have to face the disciplinary committee proceedings from the IBBA. Then valuation of the intellectual property known how acquired by issue of the certificate shares to be valued. So before the approval of the certificate shares. So what are this IP and know now? For example, I am a scientist. Okay, I'm not good in science, but assume that I am a scientist and I've created a formula in which I can disappear for 5 minutes. Okay, and I sell that particular formula to the company. Okay, so company will issue that company will issue the certificate shares to me against that formula, and for that purpose a valuation is required. Then share issued other than right and ESOP. So before pricing the issue you have to do the valuation. These comes under section 62. Then determination of the price issued by an unlisted entity when shares are issued to employee trust when the company is providing a loan for such purchase. So before the approval of the transaction. To determine that bonds debenture issued are secured and secured valuation of the assets provided by the security before issue of the such bond or debenture. So company issue the debenture bonds. So before issuing that also valuation is required. Then any non-cash transactions with the director. Then also before taking into effect, the valuation is required under section 192. Then filing of a compromise or arrangement among the creditor shareholder, then also valuation is required. So you can see that scope is very high. Only you have to make aware to the companies that, because many times what happens is that right now the Indian laws are so much of complex, so much of notification, circular, press note, press release, so much of the amendments and all, that people forgot that when to do the valuation and not. And then they committed a, means they commit a transaction without doing this valuation, and then they face the penalty. So it's your duty that you have to write a note and you have to mail to your client that under these sections a valuation is required, and if you want, then I can assist you. Okay, means it's not like that you can do the valuation, that will be a conflict of interest, but you can guide your clients. Okay, then merger and amalgamation cases. So, okay, so when board places the report to the member, so this come under section 232. Then acquisition of the minority stakes by those holding 90%. So then also section under section 236 the valuation is required. Then valuation of the assets at the time of winding up of the company. So when you are closing the company, then also valuer is required. So valuer is required from starting to end. So this is the brief table of the same. So you can go to the sections and you can see. And for the land and building and plant and machinery valuers, in all these cases, you are also required, because suppose under liquidation, if the company go into the liquidation, then definitely the value of the land and building and plant and machineries are also to be valued, and your importance is there, and you have to do the valuation. Now, land and building, plant and machinery valuer, before doing the valuation under these act, you have to also read the penalties under these act for doing wrong valuations. Because if you are doing the valuation under these act, so the entire act is applicable on you. Okay. So if the entire act is applicable on you, so you have to act accordingly. Okay. And I'm not saying that you read the entire law, but whatever the minimum requirement as per these law for doing the valuation, whatever the minimum standards, you have to follow it. Otherwise, you will be guilty as per the 2 Act. So you will be guilty as per the IBBI Act also, and you will be guilty as per the specific act also. So you will be double fine. So you have to keep that in the record. Then this is again very important, the insolvency and bankruptcy code. So I have told you that how to find an opportunity, that you go into the IBBI website, and IBBI regularly publish that which company form A has been filed. And if you are also reading the newspaper, Economic Times and all, so in that also, the IP publishes the advertisement in form number A. So you can see the advertisement, you can see, check the company detail, you can find the email ID, and you can send your profiles, and you can say that, okay, I am eligible and I can do the valuation. Then under the insolvency and bankruptcy code, so valuation by the two registered valuer to be appointed by the resolution professional. So RP appoint the valuer. Okay. And when RP appoint, when the company is split into the CIRP. So in the NCLT also, and in various forum also, you can also get yourself registered. A third valuer valuer valuation, when the RP is not satisfied with the two valuation report, and where the variation between these valuation is value is significant. So if the RP is not satisfied with the two valuers, then he can appoint a third valuer also. Then valuation of the assets when a company is placed under liquidation. Okay, so if the company is placed under liquidation also, then also a valuer is required, and these are the trigger points and these are the regulations. So you just learn the trigger points, and you just learn the main thing. Don't write the regulation and all to your client, but just simply write, okay, this is the trigger point when the valuation is required. Then valuation of the assets of a company going for voluntary liquidation. So in this case also valuation is required, and valuation for the undervalued transaction. So if the transactions are undervalued for the plant and machinery, land or building, or the SFA, in that case also a valuer is required. Means RP can appoint the valuer, he is having the powers to appoint that. Then ascertain of the fair value and liquidation value of the assets and the corporate debtor. So this is the main case under which all the three valuers are required as per the company means the SFA valuer, land and building valuer, and the plant and machinery valuer. So in all these three cases, the valuer is required. This is the summary. You can see that table afterwards. Then under the Indian accounting standard also, if the revaluation of the PPE. So what is PPE? Property, plant and equipment, means the fixed assets. So if the company is either revaluing it, so in the revaluation there can be two cases. The plant and machinery value can undervalue or it can overvalue. So in both the cases, a valuation is required. And company, normally listed company, do the revaluation at the end of the year. Now in India, there are approximately 7,000 listed companies. Okay, 7,000 listed companies. Now, listed company means there can be two type of listed company. One whose shares are listed in the stock exchange. Uh, uh, there can be there are 7,000 this public company. No, 7,000 companies whose shares are listed on the stock exchange, and that public companies are more than 7,000, like approximately 1,50,000, something like that. So all the public companies and the listed companies whose shares are listed on the stock exchange, for those companies, this is important exercise, and this need to be done mandatorily every year. So you can find those targets. Then fair value of the unlisted company, unlisted investment held as a fair value through profit and loss, and or fair value through other comprehensive income. So means these are the basically accounting treatment. So under these, the valuer is required. Then fair value of the investment property for disclosure in the financial statement. Fair value for impairment testing. See, this is again very important. Impairment testing is mandatory to be done, required to be done in the listed under the limited companies. So it is always required in the listed companies to hire a land and building, plant and machinery, and security and financial asset valuer for impairment testing. So you can find that in India there are 7,000 listed companies, 7,000 listed company, and approximately 1.5 lakh public companies, and all those require the impairment testing. Some private companies, big private companies also do the impairment testing. So you can find a very good scope in this impairment testing. Then ESOP or stock appreciation rights, employee stock option plan also at the time of option grant. Then ESOP with performance of the criteria affecting the option price, stock appreciation right. Okay. Then accounting for business combination, non-current assets held for disposal. So in all these cases, a non-current asset held for disposal, lease transactions are there. Okay. Or the plan assets of the employee benefit scheme. So in all these cases, government grant, biological assets. So in all these cases, there are 14 cases when valuer is required. And every valuer is required, and SFA is mandatorily required, and other valuers are also required. Then the FEMA Act. So FEMA Act, I told you that registered valuers are not separately required, but yeah, valuers are required. So they have to make a amendment in the FEMA Act. So inbound foreign investment in a listed company, buyback of the shares. Okay, sir, I will share. Prasad sir, I will share that link. Don't worry. I will share the book right now after the class. Don't worry to everyone. Then conversion of the CCP, CCD. Okay. Then then when transaction is a transaction to swap the shares. So in all these cases, see you can see the number of opportunity. So as a chartered accountant also, so many of us are chartered accountants. So for the chartered accountants, you can explore these opportunities, and you can do the valuation. You can target the company, you can find out, and see marketing is very much allowed in the valuation. So you can do the valuation marketing also. Don't worry on that. Okay, because there is no ethical point which says that we can't do the marketing as per my best understanding. Then at the time of investment in the entities abroad, if you are making any ODI transaction, overseas direct investment, then also at the time of transfer disposal of the shares or sale in the foreign entity, so then also valuation is required. So these are seven important criteria when a valuer is required. Now, as a chartered accountant, definitely we can do the valuation, but I personally want that instead of chartered accountant, it should be the registered valuer, so that the opportunity can be open for each and everyone. And in the income tax also, that should be replaced to the registered valuer. Because if government has brought the RB concept, then it should be uniform in everywhere. Means they can also, instead of changing each and every law, they can also release a press note or notification, and through that also they can do. But I don't know why they are slow in doing that. Then under the Income Tax Act, so in the Income Tax Act, when there is a purchase of the shares of an unlisted company, when there is a sale of the shares in an unlisted company, so as a normal valuer, you can do the valuation of land and building and plant and machinery. Chartered accountant cannot do the valuation. Now the report of the CA is not acceptable in the Income Tax Act. Okay, either you have to go to MB, merchant banker. When a company in which public are not substantially interested, ESOPs are there. Okay, or the for determining the ALP. Okay, this is in the case of the transfer pricing. Slum sale is there. Okay, valuation of the specified security. Okay, certificate share, valuation of the valuation of the security not being a equity shares of the company, means the preference shares and all. So in all those cases also a valuer is required. And lastly, this is important, Securities and Exchange Board of India SEBI regulation. So in the SEBI, there are multiple regulations. For example, takeover regulations, issue regulation, and all other regulations are there. So under various regulations, on a regular interval, you can find the opportunity. For example, for the listed company, a quarterly is required for the NAV basis. So you can see that if you have say 5-10 listed companies also, okay, so you can see there this is a quarterly business that you can quarterly earn say 5-10 lakh rupees from the valuation. Okay, and if there is any direct acquisition, okay, and these are under the SEBI substantial acquisition of shares and takeover regulations, because under the SEBI there are multiple laws inside in that. Okay, so under the direct acquisition also, then issue of the capital and disclosure requirement. So if you are preferentially issuing or converting of the debt into equity, so at that point of time, valuer is required. In case of issuance of the specific security on a preferential basis also, it is required. Then pricing of the infrequent traded shares. Okay, then also valuation is required. Then annually, then again see it is a again cash cow, this opportunity for all of us. SEBI Infrastructure Investment Trust. So these are the InvITs and the REIT trust are there. So you can see that annually you can get the business. So annually you can earn 5-10 lakh rupees if you have say 10-15 companies, or half yearly also required for NAV publication. So there is lot of opportunity in SEBI. You can drag the money in the buckets if you want from the stock from the listed company. Okay. Then SEBI infrastructure for purchase of any project. at the time of transaction, for sale of any project at the time of transaction. So everywhere, for each and every critical activity, they are saying that you have to do the valuation. When public issue is proposed, okay, so this is very critical IPO. So normally you won't get this because that will be given to the big company valuation valuer. But you can then try to find the opportunity. Then real estate investment trust. So REIT trusts are there. So for REIT trust annually valuers are required, and right now the concept of REIT has been increased. Why? Because there are many foreign investors. So they can not do the direct investment into the Indian market, but they can do the indirect investment through the REIT funds. So foreign investors like Chinese investors, European investors, American investors, they invest the money into the REIT fund, and that REIT fund invest the money into the Indian real estate market. So you can find the REIT industry, you can find the REIT companies, and you can approach them for doing the valuation. But now again, it is very important. Then when you enter into these, into these market, and when you ask the business, so you should be very clear and very transparent and clear into the role and as per the regulation. Means you should be very clear in these regulations that when the valuer is required. Okay, and for land and building and plant and machinery, you should be very clear in your scope. Then only you should run. Otherwise, the penalty of SEBI is very hefty. Okay, SEBI impose very much penalty. Okay, then half yearly also it's required. Then for purchase of the project, for sale of any project. Okay, then these are the when public issue is proposed. Then there are alternative investment funds are also there. So see, you can see that there are multiple kind of laws, multiple kind of product, and multiple kind of licenses SEBI is issued. So AIF are there, REIT fund are there, InvIT fund are there, issue of the capital are there, redemption of the capital are there. So in SEBI there is a lot opportunities, but again the penalty is also very high. So you have to keep a balance. Okay, then in this also, you can issue the half yearly report. Okay, because there are EIF category 1 and category 2 funds are there. So in the Mumbai you can approach to the EIF. You can download the list from the SEBI website, and you can go to the EIF company website, and you can mail to them. You can ask for the business from them. Okay, then determination of the fair value of the delisted equity shares in case where equity shares are delisted by a recognized stock exchange. So suppose if you are delisting the shares from the stock exchange, delisting means when your shares is onboarded on the main board, and then you take out the shares from the main board. So in that case also this is required. Then valuation of the know-how, intellectual property or value addition. So in that case also, before the approval of these scheme of this, the valuer is required. And see, in all those cases, you note one point that before decision making only a valuation is required. So these are the SEBI main rules and regulations under which the valuation is required. So you can try to find these companies. You can target these companies, and you can do the valuation under this company. Apart from that, there are various other laws. For example, as I already told you, the Sarfasi Act, the Arbitration and the Conciliation Act, the Tort Act, the Agency Act is there, Sales of the Goods Act is there, another various other acts are there. So in slowly, all those acts also, they are making the amendments, and a proper valuer is required. Again, you have to find your scope, that what is your own scope in this, and you have to check the penalties also, that if you are doing wrong valuation, then you have to face the probe under the 2 act, means under the act in which you have done the valuation, as well as the IBPI also. So these all points you have to consider, and then you can do the valuation. So that's all from my end in this. So if there is any question, so let's 5 minutes we can discuss the question. So is there any questions to anyone? And one more thing I can also show you in the last that there is a IBBI circular in the year 2019, and so this is the IBBI circular, and this IBBI circular was at that point when the IBBI was very new, okay, in the year 2019. So they have written a letter to all the agencies and everyone that under these act under the Companies Act for these activities a valuation is required. So you can check this circular also, but this is the old circular, and right now means the scope has increased. Okay, right now the scope has increased. So there is one question from sir that what are the precautions you suggest while preparing a valuation report as a SFA valuer? So sir, the precautions is that you have to first check on the formats as we have discussed yesterday, that whatever the format prescribed as per the RB rules. So you have to do the valuation as per that format only. You should be very thorough in getting all the documentation done, like the engagement letter, the MRL, any declaration from the companies and all. And you should you should focus on the law under which you are doing the valuation, because as per the guidance given under that law, plus with the valuation method, you have to make a combination, and then you have to do the evaluation. And whatever the conclusion is there, everything is there, you should write properly in the report without having any doubt or any open point that okay, it's rest on the stakeholder. Means you should not write any open points in in that. You should be very clear that yes, if this is that whatever the situation is there, any positive point, any negative point, every point you should mention in the report. Any caveats is there if management is not replying to you and all, so you should do that. And see, my point is that in this I just again want to add one point to you, that see, as of now IBBI is very strict, because as a professional institute, CACS and ICWA, we can have a liberty, okay. But right now, and as a land and building in on Machinni, their own institutions also, I believe there is a flexibility, but IBBI is not flexible because it's not a private run organization. It's not an NGO or Section 8 company type as ICAI or ICMAI or ICSI or any other. It's a government office, proper central government office, in which retired, these IAS and IPS or people are there, like government officials are there. So they are taking lot of these actions in this. So whatever we have done in the past is fine, but now onwards, when we know each and every law, uh, we should follow the things properly. That will save us from the probe, because once the probe has been started, so you will be guilty as per the IBBA Act and as per your own act also. So instead of going into that, all the litigation and all unnecessary things, better to better to do some in-house work, create some EL formats, create some MRL formats, have some checklist, KYC checklist. I do have the KYC checklist, and I do, share with the client. Some of the good clients fill that, but there are some of the, client who doesn't fill that. So I have right now, start declining the assignments also, because I don't want to do those assignments which can, create a trouble. I have, in the last 1 year, I have, rejected 8 to 9 the CIRB assignment in which I was appointed initially. So, you have to be very clear in that, and just create a standard format in the Excel. Don't it's not very critical. You should have a standard checklist of the document, that this is the mandatory checklist I require, and all those things. And if you want to untap the opportunities under these act, so the point is that you should make educate your clients, your network. You should start writing the blogs. See, I don't get that much of time, I want to, write the blogs and all, but you can, in your fraternity, in your community or community, in your network and all, you write the blogs and all, you make them aware to the people in a very easy and layman language that yes, under this act, under the M&A, what is the benefit of the valuation, how valuation will help you in getting the negotiation, in giving you a benchmark price. So for apart from regulatory purpose, also there are some internal purpose wherein you can generate the opportunities for yourself. For internal purpose, that is fine. For internal valuation, you can do internal valuations, and in that case, the risk is little bit low, but still the Companies Act is there. So if there is any private company, any company is there under the Section 247 is applicable. So still the risk is there. So you should make a mix and match and balance between these.
As you mentioned, say many like you, many always are not opting for valuation under IBC. People are scared
Sir,
because
it's
we
not
don't get the
about
information.
Sir, it's not about scaring, but it's about the improper communication. It's about the way
Incomplete
the IBBI.
information.
See, we want a proper rules and regulation on that. Okay, because many a times we don't get the data, okay, from the IPs. And after we don't get the data, then why we should create a evidence for them? Because they are saving their seats, they are saving their positions based on the RV report. So why we should give a chance to them and we should give an evidence to them? Why we should write that we don't find anything and still we have not put an effort in the SFA valuation? It is at most important that you have to send the confirmation. 90% IPs are not sending the confirmations, and they are saying to us that write in the report that
Yes.
that debtors are not there, creditors are not there. They are not checking the security deposits. Crores of security deposits are lying into the asset side, and they are saying you write that key value is zero without having any evidence. You send the this confirmation from the registered AD post. And if the other person is not accepting, you have the 30 days time. After that, you create the report. At least you should have a proper evidence. Now, if you won't get the proper evidence, then you create the report and you wait for the money. Your money will got stuck for 2-3 years, and then you face the probe also of the IBBI. So no one is fools up. So I think so. IBBI either have to, create a lenient view on the valuers, और either they have to give a proper specific guideline. बिल्कुल क्लियर लिख दो आप कि ये करना है, हम वो करेंगे. अगर उसको लिखने के बाद में भी क्लियरली अगर वो उसमें डाउट रहता है, हम कुछ गलती करते हैं, देन यू नो कैच अस ऑन मेनी फैक्टर्स. सपोज मैं बीटा की बात कर लेता हूँ. आप कितना भी पढ़ लीजिए, बीटा का कुछ भी नहीं है. आप लिक्विडिटी अजम्पशन है, बीटा आप लिक्विडिटी प्रीमियम है, आपके लिए 20% हो सकता है, मेरे लिए वो चीज 5% हो सकती है. अब क्यों उस चीज को डायलेमा में कर रहे हो भाई? या तो हम इतना शुरू से क्रिटिकल और एनालिटिकल अप्रोच लेके चलते हो इंडिया के अंदर, वो तो हमने सीखी नहीं है. हमने सब सीखा ये कि भाई जो किताब में लिखा है वही पढ़ना है हमको. तो अगर हमें उसी तरीके से हम उसी एनवायरमेंट में हैं, तो आप जो है उसको आप क्लियरली बताओ. अब लिक्विडिटी प्रीमियम पे इशू करते हो, आप बोलते हो दामोदरन का डेटा ले लीजिए, बीटा ले लीजिए दामोदरन का. अब सिंपल एक बात समझिए सर कि दामोदरन इज एन इंडियन, बट ही इज गेटिंग, वो यूएस में स्टैंड में पढ़ा रहे हैं वो. अब क्या है कि उनका जो डेटा एज इट इज लेना, वैल्यूएशन के उसमें बीटा आपने एज इट इज ले लिया, तो दैट इज नॉट कंप्लीटली करेक्ट, क्योंकि वो इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट में नहीं होता पूरा डेटा. उसको एडजस्टमेंट करना पड़ता है, और उन सब चीजों का अब प्रैक्टिकली देखना, मैंने भी बहुत सारा रिसर्च किया हुआ है,
नहीं नहीं,
तो
वो
नई चीजें नहीं मिलती हैं.
इंडियन कंपनीज के भी दे रहा है ना.
सर दे रहा है, बट वो प्रॉपर नहीं होता. उसमें 10-15-20 कंपनी होती है, वो बड़ी कंपनी ही उठाता है वो सारी चीजें नहीं
नहीं,
उठाता वो.
इंडस्ट्री या एवरेज ले रहे हैं ना वो नो. कंपनी
ले रहा
स्पेसिफिक
है,
नहीं ले रहे
अभी
हैं.
ले रहा है, बट ये कि बहुत सारी जगह मेरे को डेटा उसका कुछ कुछ जगह कंफ्यूजन लगता है. कुछ जगह ठीक है, कंट्री स्पेसिफिक ठीक है. अब जैसे कंट्री स्पेसिफिक प्रीमियम में वो 3% कंट्री का रिस्क देता है. इंडिया कंट्री में क्या रिस्क है सर आपको? इंडिया कंट्री में क्या रिस्क है? 3% रिस्क लगाते हैं वो. यूरोप में 0% रिस्क लगाता है वो. इंडिया में क्या रिस्क है सर? कुछ भी रिस्क नहीं है इंडिया के अंदर. मैं ये बोलता हूँ यूरोप से ज्यादा स्टेबल स्टेबल है इंडिया. यहाँ एक बिजनेस किसी ने किया, कोई अगर लाला है, कोई कोई हमारे ऐसा वो है, कोई बिजनेस किया, जब तक चलता रहेगा वो. यूरोप में क्या होता है कि हर 2 साल बाद बैंक्रप्सी फाइल होकर खत्म हो जाता है। यूरोप यूके में बहुत होता है उसका। उसने 3% दे दिया रिस्पेक्ट, मतलब मैं डिबेट बोल रहा हूँ। तो बहुत सारी जगह ऐसा है कि जहाँ भी ग्रे एरिया है। सो हमको इस तरीके से अपॉर्चुनिटी हम कर सकते हैं। तो लेट मी शेयर द फाइल टू ऑल ऑफ यू। आई डोंट थिंक सो देयर इज a sharing option enabled।
प्रैक्टिस के लिए आप कौन सी बुक रिकमेंड करते हो?
प्रैक्टिस के लिए सर देखिए, मैं कोई बुक नहीं लेता। आई डोंट रिकमेंड एनी बुक। मैं कोई भी बुक नहीं लेता। मैं सिंपल ब्लॉग्स देखता हूँ, क्योंकि इन्वेस्टोपीडिया, विकीपीडिया, वॉलमार्ट, देयर आर CFI इंस्टीट्यूट। तो वो बहुत सारे ब्लॉग्स होते हैं, यू रीड दैट। वो लेटेस्ट होते हैं, अपडेटेड होते हैं सर। वो आपको जल्दी रिजल्ट दे देंगे एज कम्पेयर टू इफ यू टेक ए बुक एंड ऑल। इवन दो बुक आप ले सकते हैं, PL चक्रवर्ती बुक इज वेरी गुड, हरीश दमीजा सर बुक इज वेरी गुड, वो आप देख सकते हैं।
और वैल्यूएशन बिल कब आएगा?
सर ये मेरे को आइडिया नहीं है, बट ये है कि हो सकता है आएगा। बट ये है कि जब आएगा तब उसके बाद में जो वैल्यूअर्स उनको तो फायदा होगा ही होगा, ये वाली चीज है। बट हाँ, ये कि वैल्यूएशन में स्कोप बहुत अच्छा है। तो आप लोग को जैसे मैंने बताया कि बहुत सारी जगह आप लोग पूरा एक अपने आप में इसको देख सकते हैं। अच्छा, मतलब एक प्रॉपर प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं वैल्यूएशन। स्कोप इज वेरी गुड। ओनली द थिंग इज दैट कि यू शुड बी वेरी कन्फाइंड इन योर अप्रोच। एंड निश आप क्रिएट कर सकते हो। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल कोई एक इंडस्ट्री है, जैसे एक होटल इंडस्ट्री हो गया, IT इंडस्ट्री हो गया, जहाँ पे वैल्यूएशन की रिक्वायरमेंट रहती है, जहाँ पे जो ज्यादा वो है मैन्युफैक्चरिंग यूनिट्स है। तो आप एक निश भी इंडस्ट्री वाइज, सेक्टर वाइज भी आप लोग क्रिएट कर सकते हो। बट अगेन इट रिक्वायर्ड लॉट ऑफ मतलब होता है सब चीजें, बट सब टाइम से थोड़ा वी हैव टू डिवोट दैट। Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed the session. And there
वो
were
बुक
some
कैसे
small.
मिलेगी?
कौन सी सर?
ये ICAI का बुक आपने जो
सर ये
बताए
बुक
थे ना?
का मैं इन दिव्या ज्योति में दे दूंगा एक्चुअली।
हाँ
ये
जी।
इनेबल्ड नहीं है। ये नहीं तो मैं अभी शेयर कर देता। ये चैट का इन्होंने शेयरिंग का इनेबल नहीं कर रखा। तो मैं बुक का भी व्हाट्सएप कर देता हूँ उनको, या मेल कर देता हूँ मैम को, काजल मैम को, एंड शी विल डिस्ट्रीब्यूट टू ऑल ऑफ यू।
ओके, थैंक यू।
Okay, sir. So thank you, everyone, and over to the coordinator, sir. Ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative session. And thank you all the participants to be a good listener. Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
Madam, can you please share that book with us?
Yes, sir. We are going to share it on mail and even on the WhatsApp group.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
And the first one also.
Yeah, sure, sir.
PPT. Thank you.
Hello. Youngest valuer.
Prospective valuer.
Yeah.
So he's so impressed by Sanket ji. Bye bye, beta.
Thank you, sir. Sure. Let me end.